my next YouTube video. So what I want to talk to you about today, I believe, is a very important topic. It's also very sensitive. So what I want to talk about is something that I've been experiencing for the last few months, and to be honest, it's not easy for me to talk about it, but I feel like I need to share it with other people and raise my voice about this topic, because I believe it's very important and it's very underestimated, and I believe that no one knows how it's really like until someone will experience it on themselves. I hope this video will inspire you or will give you some sort of advice or support if you're going through the same thing. So guys, what I want to talk about today is bullying, especially at the workplace. So first of all, I want to start with definition of bullying. What is bullying by definition? So you can learn more about it. So bullying by definition is a repetitive and intentional hurting of one person or a group by another person or another group. Bullying can be physical, verbal, or psychological. So now I want to share with you my personal story, what's been happening for the last few months at my previous workplace. Long story short, of course, lots of things been happening, but I will tell you the most important things, the highlights of the situation. Of course, this video is confidential. I'm not gonna tell the company I've worked for, or I'm not gonna mention any names of the people that I experienced bullying from. So I was working for company around 10 months and everything was great. I actually really enjoyed my job, but unfortunately, to be honest, since I've joined the company, since I've joined my team, I believe that it was very challenging for me because first of all, there was a big age gap between us. I'm 30 at the moment, and most of the girls working there were like around 20 or 19 or 18, or maybe like 24. So first of all, that was a challenge for me. It was a very big age gap between us, and also it was a big cultural difference. So I was the only person in the team who was pretty much international, whose the first language is not English. From the beginning, I could feel that I'm not really included in the team. People weren't very interested in me. Like, for example, myself, when I start a job somewhere or if someone is new in the team, I always try to be genuinely interested in this person. Like, it's just me naturally. Like, I ask people questions like, hey, so where are you from? What do you like to do in your free time? Like, what's your life story? You know, like that's my natural instinct, my natural thing to do when I get introduced to a new person. But I've noticed that some of the people there, most of the people there weren't very genuine with me. Like they, for some reason, they didn't really want to accept me. Maybe it was because I'm from a different country, or it could be other reasons as well. So for example, I remember one of my first days in the company, in the team, I remember I saw this girl who worked there for the first time. She was on the shift. I haven't seen her before. And I remember she even didn't say hello to me. She didn't even introduce herself to me. She literally ignored me. I even remember one of the other girls said, oh, like, don't worry, Dom, like, she's nice. I promise you, she's nice. I'm like, okay, let's see about that. So yeah, like, for the first few months when I was working there, the situation was like, it was okay. I didn't feel included, but I was feeling okay. And then after a few months, some things started happening. I've noticed that I've been experiencing lots of disrespectful behaviors from particular team members. For example, one girl, so that was a supervisor who I believe I experienced most of the bullying from. And again, I'm not gonna mention her name, so let's say her name is Karen. So yeah, Karen was my supervisor, and I believe I've been experiencing the most bullying behaviors from her. She didn't like me for some reasons. I don't know what reason could that be. I have no idea. You know, guys, this feeling when people sometimes they just don't like you for no reasons, and it happens quite a lot. And I believe it's also like kind of like competitive thing between women, unfortunately. In the woman world, we, instead of supporting each other, we make life for each other much harder. We are jealous, we envy another woman, or we just not being nice to another woman, we're not supportive for them. And yeah, I want to tell you a story which I experienced with Karen. To be honest, like the story, it's kind of funny. Like when I tell you, it's ridiculous, but like, yeah, like it's funny, but at the same time it caused so many problems about, like it's a story about such a small thing, but caused so many problems. So I was working with Karen during the shift. I was only with her. I was like closing the store, the building. And I remember I was getting ready to perform my work. And we always been using radios. We always had to use radio when we go to perform our duties and our positions at work. So what we had like 6 radios, and like each radio had a number on it from 1 to 6. And I remember I didn't have a radio on me. I really needed to have a radio, so I went to our little office, and there were 2 radios standing next to the printer. So I just took one first radio, like whichever radio was available. I just grabbed it. I took it, and Karen was like very, very mean to me, and she was like, "Oh, Dom, this is my radio. You shouldn't be using that radio." I'm like, "What? Like, are you serious now, or are you joking?" And she was like, "Yeah, like this is a radio number 2, and it's my personal preference, and I don't want you to use it." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, you know, guys, like we didn't have any like radios which are like assigned to our names, or that we could like choose a radio. We could use any random radio we wanna use, and we have to use. So I just took a random radio, and then she was like, "Yeah, you can't use it. This is my personal preference. This is my radio. You're not allowed to use it." So with this behavior, she wanted to show me how much of a boss she is, that I should like listen to her. And she also like, which was pretty funny and ridiculous, what she did was she told me another reason why I shouldn't use her radio was because, so she said, "Yeah, you shouldn't be using it as well. You know why? Because I put the tip of this radio inside my nose and it's gross. You shouldn't be using it." I really didn't know what to say. I tried to be calm about the situation. Of course, inside of me, I was pretty upset and pretty angry, as you can imagine, kind of like irritated. But I tried to take it as a joke. I tried to take it not seriously. And I kind of like, my approach was kind of like in a joking way. I'm like, "Come on, like Karen, like, are you serious? Like, it's just a radio, like, doesn't matter what number is it, they all the same, you know? I don't care, like, whatever." And she was like, "Well, remember then, it's number 2. I'm like, "Okay." And yeah, guys, so that was the first situation. And another situation that happened, it actually happened the same day, literally half an hour after the radio situation. So what happened after was that when we have clients coming in to check in, we had to write a tick on the spreadsheet next to their name, so we know they are here. So what I did, just according to the rules, our procedure, what we do every day, I took a pen, I wrote a tick next to the name of a person who just came into our building to check in. And then Karen was like, "Dom, I really don't like the way you write your ticks. It's not a proper way. You should be writing ticks." And she literally, what she did was, she took like a yellow sticky note, and she drew like a pattern of dots in the shape of a tick, and she wanted to give me a pen, and she was like, "Dom, grab a pen and just draw for me a proper tick. Just follow the pattern of the dots." Of course, I refused to do that. I said like, "No way, I'm not gonna do it. Like, what are you thinking? And then the other thing she did, she drew a square on a yellow sticky note, and she was kind of like giving me directions on how to draw a proper tick. So what she was doing, she took a pen and she was like, so this is how you do it, Dom. You just write a tick from the left side of the corner, go to the bottom of it, and then go up to the right upper corner. That's how you write a proper tick. I'm like, great. So this situation really pissed me off, as you can imagine. It really made me frustrated. I felt humiliated. I felt like she want me to make me feel like I'm an idiot, or like retarded person, or whatever that is, I don't know. But her intentions weren't good, that's for sure. And I believe this is inappropriate behavior. And yeah, guys, after those two situations that happened, as I said, it reached my limit. I was like, that's too much, like it's out of control, that's way too much. I'm not gonna allow anyone to treat me this way. It's very humiliating, I don't like it. So what happened was that I think it happened like maybe a couple of days after that happened, I made a decision to report it to my boss, and I had a conversation with my boss about it. My boss was actually laughing, especially about the tick situation. He was laughing, so it really also shows that how ridiculous the situation is. Like when I told him about it, he literally just exploded with laugh. It was like he couldn't control it, like he wanted to be professional and serious about it, but he couldn't. And the same day that I spoke to the boss about the issue, I was working with two other girls, and let's say their names are Susan and Christine. It's like the first names come to my mind. I don't know why, weird. And what happened was that I spoke to my boss about it, and then I just went back to my working responsibilities, duties, and then I've noticed that I checked the spreadsheet, and I've noticed that there were some ticks that I wrote that day before, the same day before. I was like checking in some guests, and those ticks were corrected. They just covered it up, and they wrote a tick like the way they wanted to write a tick. And yeah, like I was really frustrated when I saw that, because those two girls, they encouraged me to talk to my boss about this issue, like against my supervisor. But then at the same time, they were kind of like behind my back supporting the supervisor on that. So they were like correcting my ticks. And it made me really frustrated. I believe like this is like so petty, like to correct someone else's ticks. It's such a small thing, and it's obviously something very personal, because I believe like if you don't have anything against this person, you wouldn't do that. Like you wouldn't correct their ticks. Like why would you do that? It doesn't matter. It's just a tick. And I actually got so angry because one of the girls, like let's say that was Christine. I was getting along with her pretty well before, and she was like one of my, like, let's say, favorite girls within the team. So I was really disappointed, and I was really upset, and I told her that honestly, like, hey, listen, like, I feel like what you did is not right, like, I don't like it. And then she said, oh, well, I corrected the ticks just for Susan. So Christine and Susan, they were really like good friends, they were like besties. And Christine said to me like, oh yeah, I just corrected the ticks for Susan because Susan is feeling very upset. She's not in the mood today, and she has OCD as well. I'm like, oh, great. Good to know. And then Christine, after a few hours, when I got a bit more relaxed, like all the emotions dropped down, Christine approached me and she actually apologized to me. She said like, yeah, I'm sorry, Dom, like, listen, like, yeah, I just don't think I did it. Like, I know it wasn't right, but the way, like, why I did it was just because of aesthetics. I'm like, oh, just stop it. Like, I can't listen to it. So yes, since I reported the first issue with the radio situation and the ticks with Karen, with my supervisor, I've been getting lots of warnings from my boss. There's been so many issues going on within the team. So I feel like everything was very connected, like the whole team was going against me just because I reported those issues. And yeah, it was really challenging for me to work there. And I've realized that, well, the best thing I can do is just to leave company, because I can't imagine to work there anymore. It's just the environment got so toxic and it's just not fair the way I was treated. And yeah, the girl that I've been talking to you about in the beginning, the girl who didn't really introduce herself to me, she was very like, she was ignoring me. So for the whole time, actually, I've never really had like a nice conversation with her. She didn't know anything about me. I didn't know anything about her. And I didn't understand why she hates me so much, like for no reason again. And yeah, she even like every time I was coming to work, she treated me so differently. She was like just talking normally with everyone. She was like, hi, how are you? But when as soon as she saw me at work, I was starting my shift or she was starting her shift, she would never say hello. So she was literally ignoring me, treating me like a ghost, which was really not fair. And as well, there were some moments that the way she was talking to me was very disrespectful. It was very aggressive, and she was like raising her voice towards me, and she was like treating me very poorly even in front of the guests, which it just was so disrespectful. Yeah, like the end of the story, what happened the last day I was working there, actually my supervisor Karen, she did my safety assessments. So it's like an assessment we have to go through every 6 months. And 6 months ago, there was someone else doing this assessment, and I passed the assessment without any issues. And now I believe because of all the issues going on with like Karen and everyone else, Karen was very mean to me. She was very strict with me on my assessment. Some things I admit I didn't know, I wasn't sure, okay, but I believe it's because of lack of training within the company. Actually, the company started taking some actions and started implementing regular training just after I told them to do so, because before I believe there wasn't enough training for us. So that was the reason of my lack of knowledge. But yeah, like there were some things when Karen was giving me feedback on my work performance, there were so many things which was very disrespectful. And she was, for example, telling me the way she was talking to me, she was like pointing out all the small details about what I'm doing wrong. She didn't say anything about what I'm doing right, so it was all about negative feedback. So for example, she was saying that the way she was talking to me was very annoying. Like she said, oh Dom, like next time, like you're not loud enough, people can hear you, so next time try not to prioritize that your voice sounds pretty, because it doesn't have to sound pretty. Like what you have to do, you just have to prioritize that people can hear you. So try to talk more from the back of your throat, you don't have to sound pretty. And I'm like, I was like boiling inside of me, literally, like, and yeah, this was just very mean conversation what we had. And also she was like, so the assessment was all about safety, but she also was asking me very tricky questions which didn't really relate to safety. Like for example, at some criteria that I had to like pass on my assessment, she was asking me first safety questions, which I replied to her correctly, but she kept dragging the topic, and she was asking me questions which don't relate to the safety at all. And she failed me on that. And also she was giving me feedback like, oh, Dom, when you take photos, just make sure they are straight enough, because your photos are not straight. And yeah, when it comes to photos, to be honest, I even like, my boss told me that I'm the best seller within the team to sell photos. I knew that my photos are great. They are one of the best ones I take within the team. And I told her like the fact that my photos are not straight, it's because of my perspective, because of my creativity as like when taking photos. And that's okay, everybody takes photos differently. And most of them are straight, some of them are not, because they're not straight because they look nice this way. Like It's just my perspective of seeing things and taking photos, and people buy it, people love it. So what's your problem? So yeah, like as you can see, like all the feedback was very personal rather than professional. And yeah, so pretty much she failed my assessment, and then my boss told me that I cannot perform my position anymore, my work, and they will need to transfer me to a different department temporary until I can prove them that I'm competent enough to do my job. Which is pretty funny and ironic because I've been working for the company 10 months and nobody ever had told me before that I'm not competent enough. I was talking about this issue with lots of people, and I feel like nobody can really help me and nobody is treating this issue as seriously, because as I said before, people think it's not as serious as it is because they haven't experienced that themselves. And it really, bullying can make you feel really humiliated, disrespected, insulted. It can make you feel like someone wants you to make you feel like you're an idiot, like you are retarded, like you're dumb, you know, but you know you're not. And it's your gut feeling. It's like your intuition telling you that there's something wrong. Like the way this person treats you is very manipulative, it's very psychological, and they don't like you and they will do everything to destroy your life, and it's very evil. And to be honest, I don't understand how can you be such a mean and evil person. I believe those people have some sort of issues and insecurities. Why they do it, I don't know, can be lots of reasons. As I said, women can be pretty competitive, so they could be jealous. So I also want to explain how bullying can make you feel if you're experiencing that. So bullying can make you feel like you're being humiliated, disrespected, you're being manipulated, your basic human rights are not being met, and it's really painful. It can make you feel depressed, anxious. It can make you even sick. Like, yeah, you can get sick. Like, you can be physically really sick. So it can be a really serious issue, and I wish that there've been more support on that and people were more understanding about it. And at the end of this video, I also wanna talk about how to recognize bullying so that you know that you are being bullied. So as I said before, it's a gut feeling, it's an intuition, it's something that you can feel and something that you can observe. You can also see and observe how other team members or other people are being treated by this person, and you can see the difference, how they treat you and how they treat other people. Also the way they talk to you, the way they talk to others is different. So it's pretty easy to spot. You feel that someone is pretty evil towards you and has very bad intentions. You can easily feel it, but it's again something that you can't prove. That's what makes it really challenging. And at the end of this video also I want to talk to you about how to deal with bullying and how I dealt it myself. So I believe the way you should deal with it is to know your limits. You have to know your limit. You cannot allow this person to go too far with bullying. You have to notice that as soon as you can and then take some actions towards it. So you should report it, you should raise your voice about it, you shouldn't allow it to happen and continue happening. You shouldn't allow this person to disrespect you. You should have some consequences because of their behavior towards you, because it's not right. And you could also just leave the company. I feel like it's the best you can do because you don't want to work in such a toxic environment. It really influences your mental health. So I would recommend you to leave the workplace. It's not worth it to be there. And also what you could do, maybe include that in your resignation letter, so it actually like stays within the company. This information, you can say in your letter that my primary reason of leaving is toxic environment or bullying within the workplace or inappropriate behavior. You can also write some negative reviews online about the company. So there's lots of ways. And also I really hope that people who are bullying other people, they will have some consequences about it. Maybe not now, maybe later, sooner or later, I believe they will. And I also believe in karma, so hopefully karma will take care of them. And yeah, I spoke about this issue with many people, with lots of organizations. I spoke about it with a lawyer, and a lawyer actually told me that yes, this is 100% bullying, this is inappropriate behavior, it should be treated seriously. And also I spoke about it with Fair Work, they told me the same thing. And I also spoke about it with HR, but HR from my company I've been like bullying at, they weren't very supportive at all, to be honest. Like when I spoke to the lady, it actually made me even more upset than I was before, and I feel like I spoke to her for like almost 1 hour, and it was really not worth it, because she was kind of like, she wasn't empathetic, she wasn't understanding. The only thing she was trying to do was to prove that I'm wrong, that it's just my own imaginary thing. And I felt like it's no point, like it's so hard to find support on that. Another example of bullying within the workplace is that one of my friends, she's also Polish, and she is being bullied at the workplace at the moment. She actually has been bullying before, and she tried to take some actions about it, but unfortunately there was no one who could help her, which is really upsetting, because she was actually sexually harassed, which is even more serious issue that I was going through. And also at the moment she's been being pushed and physically hurt by someone from her work, so that's not okay. And she tried to speak to the HR about it, and they didn't want to help her, and it's really not okay that it's so hard to find support about bullying. Like, as I said, people don't know how serious it can be, how it can affect someone else if they don't experience that themselves. So if you experiencing that, raise your voice, talk about it, because people have to know about it. So if you also bullied at your workplace, or you've been going through that before, I know how it's like. I feel for you, you're not alone. So hopefully this video shows you that you're not alone, you're not the only person who experiences that. There's so many people who experience that, but they just don't have the courage to talk about it. So I hope that you will take some appropriate actions about it, and you will protect yourself and your own well-being, because it's really important. Thank you for listening to my story, guys, and all the best.